So Spurs are having another season yet again without any trophies, and that's caused a lot of attention on them again. Where they're going, what's their project right now, what's Harry Kane's future right now. But in this video, I'm going to explore through that, go through their history the past few years since Harry Kane joined, and what their future is with or without him. So what's undeniable about what Harry Kane has done for Spurs is score goals. In his first season at the club, or first full season at the club as a striker, he scored 29 goals in competitions and 21 in the Premier League. Since then, it's 25, it's just Premier League 25, 29, 30, 17, 18, 23, 17, 18. So he consistently, especially last few years, in and around 20. He scored 18 this season, so he could probably get up to maybe 25. But you can tell where the team started to fall. Post that Champions League final, where he was injured for quite a bit of that time anyway. Post that Champions League final, that team has really become stale, but also their reinforcements haven't worked at all. And you can see that with their Premier League finish as well. So in the first few years, fifth, third, second, third, fourth. Champions League final hits, sixth, seventh, fourth, and that's where they are this season, fourth. But if other teams get all their points, they could be down to seventh. And you can tell where the decline has come. It's definitely, especially midfield, defensive areas. People getting older, people having to be replaced, people not being replaced properly. The visions of the team and the director of football and the manager haven't really interlinked at all. And you can tell where it did interlink because it worked. They got fresh young players, got experienced players with their young players, and it worked. They nearly won the Premier League. They didn't quite do it because of Spurs, but they nearly won the Premier League. That did come with the caveat of not doing well in cup competitions, though, and they haven't never done well in these cup competitions. In the FA Cup, fourth round to Leicester in 14-15. That's when Leicester were relegation candidates. 15-16 to Crystal Palace, and semi-final to Chelsea and Man United, then fourth round to Crystal Palace, fifth round to Norwich, fifth round to Everton, fifth round to Middlesbrough, fifth round to Sheffield United. That's just not good enough. No matter what team you are in the Premier League, that's not really good enough, let alone a team that's been finishing top four. There's something wrong at the club when that happens. League Cup, they're in the final 14-15, lost to Chelsea. Third round to Arsenal, fourth round to Liverpool, fourth round to West Ham, semi-final against Chelsea, third round Colchester, final City, semi-final Chelsea, and this year third round to Nottingham Forest. This year's been a real bad thing, getting knocked out to Sheffield and Nottingham Forest. They were really bad performances, both of them, and it kind of showed where they are this season. In Europe, you're not expecting Spurs to do anything in Europe, and they did better than people would have thought. Got knocked out 14-15 in Europa League, round 32 to Borussia Dortmund, 15-16 round of 16. Europa League Dortmund, Champions League knockout group stage, they got knocked out in 16-17, and they got knocked out to Juventus, Liverpool in the final. You expect them to lose them games. And RB Leipzig, they had a lot of injuries at that time, I'm pretty sure. But then it's the last 3 years where you go, you got to be doing better. Like before the last few years where you go, you can understand some of these things. You can start understand the cup exits because you're going for the league. You didn't quite get the league. But the last few years where they've kind of just been in that no man's land, getting knocked out in the Europa League round of 16 to Dynamo Zagreb when you were 2-0 up in the first leg, getting knocked out in the Europa Conference League group stage, terrible. And then this season, getting knocked out to AC Milan and not even putting up a fight. Well, it put up a fight, it just knocked them out. Christian Romero. And this has kind of just left them, where are they right now? Because under Pochettino and their higher ups at that time, they had an identity of getting these young talents like Dele Alli, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, Christian Eriksen, Kyle Walker, kind of like what they tried to do that Gareth Bale money, but they did it a bit more over time instead of that just at one window. But they did that, and it really, really worked. But since then, they've been trying to get these win now players that have a little bit more potential to go, but not the finished product. But they have really not been able to develop them into the finished product. Kind of happened with Ndombele and Lo Celso. They brought them as they'll help us now, but also maybe have the potential to go to the next level. Neither of them did. Neither of them being good enough to at that level. And you go, That's one bad summer. They did go a year without spending that. They went in on that summer, even with the same summer as Ryan Sessegnon. Again, he's probably a bit improved, but he hasn't gone up a level. And then last season, the season after, the Region, Doherty, Højbjerg, Rodon, Carlos Vinicius. Again, all players you go, they're decent players now who have a bit of potential, but also the potential is not really that high in them players. Like Højbjerg's just going to be your average, mid to sixth place average midfielder. He's not great. He's not terrible. Doherty is decent. Not going to be great. Could be terrible, and he was terrible for them. Region, good attacking fullback. What only works really in one system. They didn't play that system. Doesn't work. Joe Rodon, Carlos Vinicius didn't work out. And in the summer after, Brian Hill. Again, it makes sense, but it's not what they're at right now. They're not. They're at that stage with Harry Kane and Heung-min Son and squad where they want to be competing. So why are you buying players like Brian Hill, who need game time to develop, and you spend 25 million on them? It doesn't make sense. Emerson Royale never really made sense at the time, considering they're playing wing backs and he's just a fullback. It doesn't make sense. Papa Metisar, again, kind of the same thing. Which direction are you going in? He's a decent player, but he needs the game time to develop, and he's not getting the game time. And over time, after 2-3 seasons, you go, well, he hasn't played that much, and he's not really improved, and he kind of missed that window to develop. And then also Christian Romero, I like the signing. Again, works in one system and in a particular way, and he's not the greatest in that he works on that right hand side in a three at the back, where there's that opportunity to roam up and down. If you switch to a four at back, is he going to work with that? I don't know. It worked in the World Cup a bit, but he needs that guy next to him who's a bit more composed, who's a bit more reliable, and they haven't really got that right now. And then Bentancur, Kulusevski in the summer, I like them signings. I think they've been really good for them. I like Kulusevski. I like what he, Son and Kane did at the end of last season. They look really dangerous. Bentancur shores out in the field. He's injured right now for the rest of the season, which I think is a really big miss for them, because he's kind of got that balance. He's got not the defensive work of Højbjerg, but he's not terrible, and he's their best ball playing midfielder. And then this summer, it kind of feels like the same, where you're getting the good players who want to improve, but they really haven't been able to improve them. Richarlison, I spent £55 million on him. Why? He's never going to break into that front three. And he's not really that potential kind of player. That I don't know what people see in him to think he can be that kind of player. He's not the greatest scorer. He can't dribble that well. He works hard. That's a plus. But technical wise, he's not the greatest. Doesn't really make sense. Basuma, again, I understand the sign. He looked very good at Brighton, but in a possession system, it really worked well. But in this system where he's asked to play fast football, and it doesn't really work that well, it doesn't look like. Udogie and Spence. Udogie's gone back on to Udinese, and Spence was so good for Nottingham Forest last season in the Championship. So good, but he hasn't been given a chance because they're wanting to win games, not develop players. Yet you're buying players that develop, but they're not going to develop if you're not going to play them. It doesn't make sense. Danjuma on loan, it's a loan, doesn't matter. Pedro Porro, you just bought Jed Spence. What are you doing? And you just bought Emerson last season, Matt Doherty the year before. Where's the strategy? If they didn't release Doherty, they would have 4 right wing backs at the club. That doesn't count. If you count Ivan Perisic as well, who can play there. It doesn't make sense. And think of all these signings. Centre back. They got Longley on loan. Who's You have good games, you have bad games. It's a mismatch of a squad. And it's led them into a position where you just got so many average players in so many average positions that haven't reached their potential. Let's go through the squad. Lloris, he's 36 years old. He should have been replaced 2-3 seasons ago, but he hasn't. Their defence, their starting defenders will be Romero, Dyer, and Ben Davies. Ben Davies and Dyer haven't been good for about 3 seasons. What makes them think they're going to be starting quality now? On the bench is again high potential player like David Sanchez, who hasn't realised his potential, whether that's coaching or other things. Left wing back, Perisic, Sessegnon. What you doing there? None of it really works. Sessegnon's not been great. Needs game time. He has been getting game time, to be fair, but he hasn't been great because he missed them years of development. When they got him in 2019, he should have been first team straight away if you want to develop him that kind of player. But they never did. He was so good at Fulham, but they didn't develop him. Perisic makes it is a shouldn't be starting every week. That's the kind of player he is. In midfield, the midfield is so etched into one style of defensive work rate and off the ball. Bissouma, Bentancur, and Højbjerg. Possession-based style, they can't work. Off the ball, they maybe could work in a high-press team. They could. Højbjerg's probably more of a front-foot player. Bentancur and Bissouma are a bit more reserved. But in possession, none of them are really that great on the ball. Bentancur is better than Bissouma and Højbjerg, but none of them great ball. Skip, again, the same. Industrious, but not really great on the ball. And up front, Kane, Son, and Kulusevski. I understand they probably didn't see the decline Son would have this season because he's been really, really bad this season. But they haven't got the up-and-coming player there to replace him. They haven't got the right players to fill in the holes. Richarlison wouldn't work because he's not really in high possession. Because in Tottenham's system right now, they play their two forwards like Son and Kulusevski in the inside roles, and they have Harry Kane up front. Harry Kane's always going to play, so Richarlison's playing in this like kind of attacking midfield role. That's not Richarlison's game. So where's the plan in there? They want their wing backs high and wide, and they want their like Son and Kulusevski in the middle a bit more. That's not Richarlison's game. Richarlison's high and wide on the left or up front. It doesn't make sense. So this has led to a position where they need a complete rebuild and restructure of the team, and this is the summer where they need to think about which direction is going. Because since Pochettino, they've gone in a direction where we want to play defensively solid football with Mourinho, Nuno Espirito Santo, and Antonio Conte. And they try to get players to win now, but the players they've got to win now are not good enough to win now. It never made sense at the time. Like, you're buying players to win now, they're not good enough to win now, so your win now is being 5th and 4th. If they would have thought about it, after Pochettino, you got a manager that would suit that style to carry on the development of these players. But they were never able to develop them players further. And now you're in a situation where Lloris is 36, Harry Kane's 29, approaching 30, Son's 30. You got Dyer and Davies at 29 and 29. Do you cash in on Kane and Son in the summer and just completely rebuild this team and get in young players? That could be the situation this summer where you have to completely rebuild and get out some of these teams. And the manager situation is going to be important for this as well. Because Patrici, he's from that Juventus Italian football. He likes a manager like Antonio Conte who's a bit more cautious and defensive. Is he going to be that guy to... You've seen it in his signings, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Romero. He likes the Italian football way. Is he going to be the guy to bring back Poch and bring these high potential young players in and be that director of football in that way? You don't know. I hope for Tottenham's sake that they find this identity again, because under Poch it was identity of bringing through young players who are going to play high pressing, high intensity attacking football, but then it's really turned into a turgid defensive football where there's no creativity in the team. The centre backs aren't good in any areas. The midfield aren't great on the ball, so it's just cautious football because they haven't got very good ball players anymore. With Harry Kane having 1 year left on his contract, it's a big decision right now because they've got to sit down with him this summer and say, "Are you coming? Are you staying? Or are you going?" Because they can still get £100 million for him this summer with 1 year left on his contract. But if they want to convince him to stay, which I think they can convince him to, if they rebuild the team completely, but that will cost hundreds of millions, and they don't have that. They have to completely gut this team and spend hundreds of millions to be able to compete for that top four for that title. If they keep going this way, they're just going to keep slipping slower and slower down and down and down because they just don't have the quality of players. They really don't. If you compare that defence to the defence that under Pochettino with Lloris in his prime, Vertonghen and Alderweireld in their prime, even Trippier and Danny Rose, who wasn't great, they're better than what they had now. And that midfield of Moussa Dembele and Sissoko, very good ball-winning midfield. Probably not on par, but a bit better than what they have right now. And then they had Ericsson and Dele Alli, a creator to help Harry Kane. Right now, Kulusevski is kind of the only other guy that to help Harry Kane. They have no other creators in the squad. Son's completely focused on himself right now because he's in his own head about scoring. They don't have any creators. Their wing backs aren't creators. Maybe Pedro Porro can become that, but is it going to be another player we go, oh, he's just not suited to this system, or another player they've been failing to get potential out? There's been too many players over the years where they have been failing to get potential out of players, and that's where it's really gone wrong. They've invested so much into so many players where they think they can improve, and they just haven't been able to improve them because they're trying to win now, so they're not focused on development of players. They're focused on development of the team, but the team's been failing. Harry Kane has a few options this summer. It's Man United to be their number 9. They'll probably have to get a premium of them compared to the likes of Bayern Munich, who would need a striker maybe. Real Madrid if Benzema doesn't sign his new contract, and PSG if Neymar, Messi and Mbappe break up. If Napoli let go of Osimhen, that could be an opportunity for Kane to go over there. But it's at this point of career, he scored so many goals, he's broke the Tottenham scoring record. He needs a trophy for himself, and I'm sure he's not happy with the circus that's going around Tottenham, with Antonio Conte being, so emotionally into it and out of it 1 week to the other. It's not a good thing. You want it to be steady, and Conte's just so up and down week to week about whether he's staying or going. Results mean too much and too either way. That the wins are as sky high they can be. The losses are so low that you can get. And every week it's rumours about contracts. Is it staying or is it going? You just need a settled person, whether that's Poch coming back, whether that's another manager coming in, whether it's you go for the younger manager, you go for a Michael Carrick or somebody who can, maybe be that next Poch, because Poch hasn't been great for the last few seasons. He wasn't great at PSG. Do you want to risk that again? It's not always great going back to the old times. But I think we're going to leave that there. Like and subscribe, comment your thoughts on Spurs. They're not in a great situation, but it is fixable, but it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of time to fix this squad. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.